Atheists pray to him before dinner. Models stop and take his picture. When he watches birds, they watch back. The Illuminati questions his existence. He is Elpy Perez, the most interesting man in the world.
I don't always go on podcasts, but when I do, it's Mike at the Helm.
Hello, and welcome to the Mike at the Helm podcast. I'm your host, Mike Spencer.
And I'm your host, Arza Helm. Today, Mike, we have a very special guest.
Really? Who
It is Elpy Perez.
Elpy Perez.
I don't know if you've heard of him.
From TikTok?
A viral TikToker, yes, sir.
Oh my goodness.
He has a ton of good stories. The one that got him big was a story of him dying, actually.
Wow.
And he's a native New Yorker, and now he lives in a mystery location in some third world country. And we are lucky enough that he's willing to talk with us today.
Yeah, Elpy, I just gotta say, you are the guest I have been most excited about. You have all these stories that I just want to dive so much deeper into, because 1 minute on TikTok is just not enough, man.
Sorry, other
No,
guys.
it's not.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's just the most exciting. Everybody else I've been excited, but I mean, come on, you can't compete with Elpy Perez.
Yeah, thank you guys for. I'm excited. I'm really excited. Just talking to you guys before we even began, it was just a lot of fun. So I think we're gonna have fun here.
For sure, yeah. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun all around. I think we should start. I think the reason why a chunk of people are gonna click on this is your dying video, the one that blew up. I was curious if you wanted to walk us through that really quickly.
Yeah,
not really quickly. Take as long as you want.
yeah. So I am going to just tell you all the details that I was not able to say on TikTok, because like you said, 1 minute is just not enough. It's not enough. I tried my best to provide all of the most important details, but there's a lot more that happened in between.
Oh yeah, so, I'm sure.
So this was back in 2012, if I'm not mistaken, and it was a Saturday morning. I was on my way to work, and I'm walking to the bus stop, and as I'm getting to the bus stop, I see my dad pulling out of the driveway, because I lived a few blocks from where my dad lives at. I used to anyways. And he's pulling out of the driveway, and he's like, "You need a ride?" And I'm like, "Actually, that'd be great if you could." So we hop in the car, and we start driving down the highway, because right outside the neighborhood where we lived at, there was no residential roads. It's literally just the main highway.
Well, was this in New York?
No, this was in the mystery location.
Okay.
Yeah, let's come up with let's just call it what should we call it? Something that's not too confusing.
Country M. I don't know.
Country white
for mystery.
You want to call it Miami? We just call it Miami.
Yeah, let's just call it
Miami.
The third world country of Miami.
It's a third world country. I'd rather not specify what country it is, but it is a third world country. I've been here for a while, and the story of me getting here is actually also really crazy. But so we jump on the highway, and maybe a mile and a half, maybe 2 miles down this highway, there's this import and export center, and there's 18-wheelers and tractor trailers coming in and out of this place all the time. And I remember I was probably in the car for maybe a minute. It didn't take very long to get there. And the next thing I remember, I don't remember the moment of impact. I don't remember anything. I don't remember even seeing the truck coming. All I remember is that 1 minute I was in the car with my dad, and the next minute I am slumped over the dashboard. And this is another thing that I wasn't able to properly explain in the TikTok video. I didn't actually fly out or through the windshield. What happened was that I wasn't wearing my seatbelt, and I flew forward, and I broke through the windshield with my face, but my legs got hooked under the dash, and I got flung back into the car.
Wow, right? None of that sounds great.
So that, it's fantastic, believe me. But So that's what, if I would have actually flown through the windshield, I would have slammed right into the trailer and I'd be dead.
Right.
But no, I was. I would still be dead.
Extra dead.
You would have remained
extra
dead.
Yeah.
Right. So I remember in the car with my dad 1 minute. The next moment, I am slumped over the dashboard, and I just get, I kind of sit up and I'm like looking around. I'm very disoriented, and I'm just like looking around, and my dad's gone. And I see this trailer right in front of us. The hood of the car of my dad's pickup truck. It was a pickup. It was like split open. It was so weird the way it like the front end of the car just like split open, and there was people everywhere. There was people, because that's I don't know if it's like that anywhere else, but at least here in Miami. There's whenever there's car accidents, it's like because it's boring down here. So whenever anything happens, people leave their homes just to go see, like what happened, what's going on,
Right.
So I'm sitting in the car, and there's like people everywhere. There's I would say at least 20 people, immediately surrounding the site or the scene of the accident. And I remember just sitting there looking around, and I looked down. I can tell you exactly what I was wearing. I was wearing a white T-shirt. I was wearing green plaid shorts, and I was wearing blue Asics sneakers. And there was just blood everywhere. There was blood all over my shirt, blood on my shoes, blood on my shorts. And I remember when I looked down, I actually saw like a steady stream of blood just coming off my face. It was like dripping off of my face. Man. So I went to go touch, and this part kind of trips me out, because if I was dead, why was I able to feel this? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I went to go touch my face, and the thing is that when we crashed, this, like, from, I don't know, you probably can't see it, but like from right here, that's not from my glasses, that's actually a scar.
Yeah, I can definitely see it.
Yeah, so from right here to like right here, like all of this was missing. Like there was just
from like the middle of your nose to like your eyebrow.
Yeah, from like right here to right here, there was just a big hole where you could like see into the like inside of my head. So when I went to go touch my face, I immediately remember feeling like my finger kind of slip inside
of
my head.
Not good.
Yeah. I mean, it was I remember the feeling. I remember everything about it.
Were you in shock at the time? Like, or did you feel all the pain?
I was sitting there just as calmly as I am sitting here with you now. I wasn't panicking. I was just confused. I didn't know what was happening. And I remember looking at my hand, and my hand was just caked in blood, and it was so thick, and I'd never seen so much blood, coming out of me before.
Yeah.
So I went ahead and I got out of the car, and I'm standing there, and I'm just like, where's my dad? Like, I can't find him. And all of these people are standing. You would think if you saw someone get into a very serious car accident, and you saw them climb out of their car, the first thing I think I would say is like, sit down,
right?
Don't move, like lay down. What's your name? Do you know where you are? What year is it? Like figure out if they're coherent,
Yeah.
But no, I was standing there, and all of these people were just like standing around like, what happened? What's
just looking around?
Yeah, they looked confused, and I was confused. So I start to walk through these people. Like I remember it so clearly as I'm going to remember this conversation. It is the most, I felt the wind hitting my skin. I remember taking the steps and walking. It wasn't a hallucination. I lived it. I really did.
Was it more vivid than like other memories you have, do you think? Like, do you think that like really is stored in your brain?
I think why it was more vivid was probably because of all of the blood. And because I was trying to figure out, because it's, you see that much blood coming out of you, you immediately assume, I'm going to die. But oddly enough, I wasn't in that sort of panic. I was just kind of trying to figure out what was going on and trying to find my dad. I was very calm, very collected. And it blows my mind. I think about it now, and it blows my mind how I couldn't put two and two together. Like, if I would have seen someone caked in blood like that, I would have just been like, oh my God, are you okay? Are you all right? Do you need something? I was walking through, I was making my way through these people, and not a single one of them turned to look at me. and it was like I wasn't there, right? So I make it about 20 feet from the accident, and I'm just kind of standing there. I'm looking at the accident. There's even more people off to the distance, and I'm just kind of standing there amongst these people. And this I don't know why this is important, but I want to say this because I still have like flashes of this scene in my head.
Okay.
As I was standing there, with all of these people looking for my dad, figuring out what was going on, traffic was going by really slow because everyone's like trying to even the bus drivers would like slow down. Right. So there was this bus that like drove by very slowly, and everyone's like pressed up against the window trying to see what happened. And I see this one kid. He couldn't have been older than 6 or 7. He's like this little kid, and he's like at the window, and he makes direct eye contact with me. And as the bus is moving along, his head is like turning because he's maintaining eye contact with me.
So was he the only one that made eye contact with you?
He is the only one. And I always thought to myself, maybe it was, I don't know what it could have been, but the fact that he made very direct eye contact and didn't break it and maintained it as the bus moved along is something that I can't explain, and something that I think about to this day. Like it keeps me up at night. What was that even a person?
Right.
I don't know. I don't know.
That's kind of a thing in like scary movies, right? Where like kids or like animals can see things that normal people can't.
Yeah, that is
interesting. Were there like a lot of kids around you?
Kids and shamans.
No.
Kids and shamans. Yeah, shamans too.
No, I don't remember seeing any children. It was
really
just
so that was
men.
the only.
It was just men and women, and and that was the only child I saw, and he was, like I said, he was watching me through the window. At least that's what it seemed like.
Right.
So I'm standing there. At this point, I'm still confused. I'm not panicking. I'm just standing there. And then I felt this arm kind of like just come around me and just like hold me, kind of like when you grab like your brother or your dad, and you just like that. Right
here.
So I feel this arm like come around me, and I didn't think at the moment to turn to see who it was. I just remember feeling it and just being okay with it. And this person or this arm, could have been a floating arm, I don't know, starts to like nudge me towards the highway. And I get to the middle of the highway, and this minivan pulls up, and the door just slides open, and there's a man inside, and he's like, "Get in." Right. And I didn't even think about it. I was just like, yeah. So I got in, and that's the very last thing I remember before waking up at the hospital the next day.
No, you go.
Are the ambulances in Miami? Are they like minivan ambulances? Like when I lived abroad,
no.
The
Okay, so
ambulances were minivans. So
that is a very common misconception, and I'm so happy that you asked that question because I get this question so much. Again, I should have capitalized on answering all the questions before, but there were just so many.
Oh yeah, I believe it.
So it wasn't an ambulance. It was actually one of our neighbors.
No.
And
wow.
And he just so happened to be driving down that same highway. But I don't want to jump to okay, so let me put this into a structure here before I tell you that.
Sorry.
So no, that's fine. That's fine.
All the questions till the end of the lesson.
No, please. I love this. So I'm going to skip over the hospital story, and I'm going to jump to 2 years later.
Okay.
And so my dad was raised, and this is going to sound like I'm exaggerating, but it's really not. My dad was raised in the dirt. He was one of 19 children.
Oh,
19?
And he was the second oldest of 19 children. And every morning when my dad would wake up, he would get his slingshot, and he would get his rifle, and he would go out into the, you might call it jungle, or you might call it desert. It's a weird mix of both. And he hunted for lunch or for dinner or for breakfast. He would, hunt for, rabbits or wild boar or whatever he could get. He would. So that's the kind of guy my dad is. He's tough as nails. He doesn't complain. I watched my dad sear through his finger one time with a very, very hot, some sort of instrument he was using for his car, and the thing just seared right through. And
no reaction.
He was
to
like,
show you that he could. I'm just kidding.
No, he was. He reacted. He was like, "Ah."
I mean, you gotta have that in your DNA, right?
Yeah.
Because you didn't even react when you got your face smashed in a window.
I suppose. So he's, my dad. He's not like, "How are you feeling? Are you all right?" And here's another thing that I didn't get to say in the TikToks. I was in the hospital for almost a month, and my dad didn't visit me at all.
Wow.
The only time my dad showed up was to give authorization for them to perform an emergency surgery on me. And even then he wasn't there for me. He was there to just approve everything that was, that needed to be done.
Yeah.
So that's like my dad. It's not that he doesn't love me. It's just that my dad has this incredible, indestructible barrier between him and his emotions. And, there's nothing anyone can really do about it. That's just the way he is. So 2 years go by, and my dad and I, we have not once spoken of the accident. It was like it never happened. I went home, and he would come over from time to time and said, "Have you eaten?" Like, "Yes." "Good."
Just making sure you're okay.
Yes.
Still.
Yeah, just making sure I'm all right. That's really it.
Was it like you wanted to talk to him about it, but you felt like you couldn't? Like it wasn't an accessible topic?
I'm just so used to him and the way that he is that it never even crossed my mind to talk to him about it. I just knew that it was going to just not be something that he would ever bring up. So I just kind of thought that I would never bring it up. Well, like I said, I never really thought about it. It was just sort of natural, the dynamic with my dad.
Right.
So I would talk to my friends about it way more than I ever talked to my dad about it. And so I remember, 2 years later, I was visiting my dad's place because I've lived on my own since I was 16. So I would visit my dad from time to time, and we would have dinner and things. So I was at my dad's for dinner, and we were just kind of talking, and from one topic to the next topic, we sort of stumbled upon the topic of the accident. And I remember saying to him, I was like, where the hell were you? Like, I remember looking for you everywhere, and I couldn't find you. And that was probably the first time in my life I saw my dad, like the expression on his face. Like, I was worried because I thought he was having a heart attack or something, because he looked genuinely like something was wrong. Right?
Terrified.
Yeah, right. So he looked at me and he goes, that's not funny. And I said, "I'm not trying." "What do you mean that's not funny? What are you talking about?" He goes, I don't think that's funny. So you need to cut that out. I said, "No, I genuinely have no idea what you're saying." And he says, "You didn't." Oh, man. He says, "You didn't wake up." He says, the moment we crashed, you were out. I thought you were dead. And I ran out of the car, and I was asking for help. I was trying to hail down a car. Like, I was trying to get a car to stop and take us to the hospital, because I wasn't going to wait around for an ambulance. So that's where I was.
Right.
And I became, this is my dad, and of course I'm putting it in my own words, but he said, I became so desperate that I ran into the pickup, and I pulled you out. I pulled your body out of the wreckage, and I held you in my arms. And I stood in the middle of the highway with you in my arms, trying to get someone to stop and take me to the hospital. And coincidentally, that's when our neighbor just so happened to be driving by, and he saw my dad standing there with me in his arms. And he opened the door and said, "Get in." And that's how I made it to the hospital. So also, just to an extension of that, because this is also something I didn't get to talk about on TikTok. When my dad told me this, I I couldn't believe it. You know, I had so many, and like I said, it blows my mind that I could never put two and two together, because who the hell doesn't think, who was that random arm that grabbed me that one time? How did I make it in that minivan? Who was that stranger that took me to the hospital?
So that whole time you thought that, like, what you had experienced was, like, I guess the physical world experience, I guess you could say?
I never thought about it. I just thought that it was real. Whatever it was, I thought it was real.
Wow.
I didn't feel like I was having an out-of-body experience. I didn't feel like I was dying. I didn't feel panicked. I was just as calm and serene as I am now, just living through it. Like I said, and like at the moment, when I felt the arm come around me, I didn't think to, because your natural reaction is like, who the hell's, you know? I didn't even think about it. It was just very natural the way that it all happened.
Felt safe.
So, right, yeah, I guess I just felt comfortable or safe, like everything was going to be all right. So, so this is the part that I would have liked to have talked about on TikTok. But basically, when my dad said that, we finished dinner, and I stood outside of my dad's house, and I was just kind of sitting there, just kind of thinking, like, what does this mean? What's happening? Why is, like, suddenly all of these emotions that I should have been feeling from the day the accident happened just rushed in.
Yeah.
And it was just such an overwhelming, what the hell does this mean? I don't understand any of this.
Right.
So and this is another part of the story that blows my mind. And also, and we might talk about this later, but also kind of makes me believe that we live in a simulation, but we'll get into that in a minute.
Yeah.
I was standing there, and not 2 houses down the street from my dad's house, I saw the minivan. I saw the minivan parked out there, and I saw this guy washing it with a hose and the sponge and everything. And I said, that's the guy. That's the neighbor.
That's
how come
crazy.
How come I've never seen him before? I've never in my life seen that man living right there so close before. And that kind of goes with, like, why I believe we may be in a matrix, but it's like,
that's crazy, actually.
It's nights on end of me just thinking about life itself. But anyways, even though I'd never spoken to this man before, I walked right up to him, and I said, "Hey," and he's like, "Hey, how you doing? You look so much better." Immediately starts talking about the accident. He's like, "You look so much better. Look at you. You look great." And I said, "Yeah, that's crazy, right?" And I was like, I capitalized on it. I was like, "So what happened? Like, can you tell me, like, your version? Like, what did you see?" And he goes, "Yeah, I was driving down the highway, and I had seen, like, off in the distance, a couple miles down the road, that there may have been an accident, because I could see, the traffic starting to slow down. And I saw this 18-wheeler kind of, crossing over the lanes. And sure enough, traffic starts slowing down, and as I'm coming up on the accident, I see your dad standing there in the middle of the road, and he's cradling you in his arms. And this visual that he gave me still kind of gives me the chills. He says that my dad was holding me in his arms, and that, like, because, when you carry someone like this, if they don't pull their head forward, their head just kind of dangles.
Right.
So he says, your dad was, like, walking around, and your head was just, like, loosely dangling.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Just kind of, like, flailing about. And he says, I thought you were dead. Like, there was blood dripping off of you. I thought you were gone. So, when I told your dad to get in the car, I thought we were dropping off a body. I didn't think you were there. I thought there was no way you were going to make it. So, yeah. So that's the crash itself, right?
Right. And were you dead at the time? Like, you said you died on impact, or what was going on there?
So I died on impact. And the reason why I believe that I died, I wasn't resuscitated. From what I understand, I got to the hospital, and they started treating me. And the hospital that I was taken to was like, we don't have the facilities or the tools to save him. So you need to take him to another hospital. They threw me in an ambulance. They took me to another hospital. And when I got taken to the other hospital, they said the same thing. There's no way we can help him. You have to take him to this hospital. They threw me in another ambulance and I got taken to another hospital. And that's where I woke up. But nowhere in there was it like, oh, you know, that I was resuscitated or nothing like that, nothing of the sort. The reason why I believe that I was dead is because of what happened later that we could definitely get into. But yeah, so going back to, you know, the stay at the hospital. So third world medical attention, you know, and this goes without saying, is not the best, you know, right. And don't get me wrong, you know, and this is the reason why I choose to keep Miami a secret location, because I don't want people like, oh, he was talking all this ish about the doctors, right. And, you know, the infrastructure. Sure. It's really not that. It was just a terrible experience overall. So
there's probably not many countries that could handle someone with what you were going through.
Yeah, the kind of trauma. It was really bad. So the extent of my injuries was I had my orbital bone, which is like the inside like cup type bone where your eyeball goes, was totally shattered. So I had no orbital bone. My cheekbone was in pieces. I had a whole like space from like my nose to my forehead. My jaw was like, it wasn't dislocated, but I guess it was somehow it was moved or rotated or somehow because of the accident. Actually, since that accident, before the accident, I didn't have this space between my teeth right here. Right here?
Yeah.
You see where I put my tongue right there?
Yeah.
And after the accident, I had that space. So I'm assuming that because like the force of the impact, and I don't know if this is even possible, but what I assume happened is that my teeth might have shifted. I don't know. But I didn't have that
Can
space.
You whistle through it?
No, I can't.
So was most of the injury to your face?
Yes, it was. I was in the hospital for facial trauma. It was just broken, swollen, lacerated face and head.
Yeah.
And just everything was gone.
That's pretty lucky, because I can't imagine much important stuff is in your head. I can't think of much.
Well, you know, eyeballs and brain.
No, I was just kidding. I was kidding.
But so imagine this. Come with me on this journey, if you will. Imagine waking up one morning and having no recollection of what happened, because I didn't even remember. I just woke up. I was drugged. You know, they gave me a bunch of narcotics for the pain, of course. And I woke up and I woke up right when the nurses were switching shifts. So I had like 3 nurses in front of me, and one of them was holding a clipboard, and she's like, "Oh, this medication every 2 hours, this one every 4, blood pressure normal, this and that." And I immediately panic, and I'm like, "What's going on? What the hell? What am I doing here?"
Right.
And the nurse says, the plastic surgeon will be here in a moment to talk to you. And she just walks away, just walks away. That's all she said. And I'm sitting there in this hospital when finally the plastic surgeon walks in. And he walks right in and he goes, "Hey, you were in a really bad car accident. Your dad is fine. Your dad's okay. I want to tell you right now," this is the first thing this is the first thing he hit me with. He says, "I'm going to tell you right now, I can't promise you that we're going to save that eye. So we've already done one emergency reconstructive surgery. You have another one to go, and then we have a plastic surgery that we're going to need to do on you too."
And this was your right eye?
This was my right eye.
Okay. And you couldn't see out of it at all?
No, I had like the whole, this whole side of my face was like wrapped up, right?
Okay.
And he goes, "Take it easy, let it sink in." And he goes, "Don't overexert yourself. But when you have a moment, I want you to go to the bathroom and I want you to look at yourself in the mirror, and I want you to understand that you are not going to look like this forever. Your head is only swollen. Right. But you need to go see what you look like, because, you need to get that out of the way. I guess the initial shock of what I might see, you know." which seemed very odd to me, because if I was a doctor, that would be the last thing I would tell a patient. Like, don't, just, there's no need, you're going to look better anyways. So of course, as soon as the doctor leaves, the first thing I did was, get up out of my bed, and I take my IV and I drag it to the bathroom. And I just kind of stood there in front of the mirror, holding on to the sink, looking down for a bit, and just kind of preparing myself to see what I'm about to see. And I look up, and my whole right side of my face was bandaged up. But even though the bandages were there, it was so weird. It was like you could see where like the swelling began. It was almost like the indentations of a peach, like where it like dimples.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's like it sinks, and then it just kind of like came all the way out. It was like my head was trying to split in two, like the way a cell reproduces.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Amazing.
like my whole head was like out here, and I just started unbandaging my head. I started taking off the bandages, and I took off the bandages, and I see all the cuts and all the stitches in my face, and my eye is swollen shut. And I remember the doctor saying, I can't promise you we're going to save your eye. So my genius self decides I'm going to peel my eye open, so I go ahead and I ripped because it was encrusted with blood. So I couldn't really.
So it was, you can open it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I went and I just kind of ripped my eye open.
Oof.
It's gotta hurt, right?
It did. It was very painful. And there was nothing there. It was just like pink, meaty stuff.
So when you say there was nothing there, like you couldn't see like your pupil or...
There was literally nothing there.
Really?
It was just like pink flesh. It was like pink. And when I would move my eyes around, I would notice the flesh kind of like wriggling.
What?
But there was nothing in there. Like it was just like flesh, like just pink flesh.
Interesting.
So I didn't know what the hell was going on. So of course, that was an extremely traumatic thing to go through, which I blame myself. I put myself through that, really. But I remember I started crying, and rather than tears, blood actually started coming out of this eye.
Oh my gosh.
And tears started coming out of this eye, which made it look so much worse. And I kind of walked out, and the nurses were like, "Oh my God, what did you do?" They wrapped me back up, and they put me back in bed. So skipping ahead a bit here, because there was a lot of unimportant stuff that happened. I was in the hospital for a while, but
3 months, you said? 4 months?
No, almost a month.
Oh, okay.
Just about, just over 3 weeks.
Okay.
So
Damn.
so a few days into my hospital stay, I started having stomach issues. And I remember at first it was like, it felt like I had an upset stomach, kind of like when you eat something that's overly greasy and you can feel the grease just kind of simmering in there with the stomach acids. That's kind of what it felt like. Mm. And I didn't think much of it. I ate, I was actually doing really well. I was recovering. I would even walk around the hospital and talk with the nurses, and then the next day, my stomach pain hadn't gone away. And it was significantly worse than the day before. So I go ahead, and this is where the saga of this bitch nurse starts. I'm sorry, am I allowed to say bitch?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Bitch,
so
fuck, whatever. Cons, whatever.
This is the saga of the bitch nurse. Everyone on TikTok who watched this story hates this nurse because of what she put me through. I went up to this lady and I said, "Hey, I'm having really bad stomach issues. I don't know what the hell's going on, but it's just getting worse and it's not going away." And she's like, "Have you gone to the bathroom?" Kind of like she didn't, like I had interrupted her day, like she just really didn't even want to help me. She's like, "Have you gone to the bathroom?"
Treating you like a kid. Did you go poopy yet today?
Yeah, exactly. Right. So I said, "No, it's been 2 days and I haven't gone to the bathroom," which is weird because, breakfast, lunch, dinner, and I still haven't gone. She goes, "Okay, let me give you some laxatives." So she gives me some laxatives, and a few hours later, she's like, "Anything?" I'm like, "No." And she gives me more laxatives. "Anything?" I'm like, "No." And she gives me more, and this goes on for a whole day. She gave me laxatives 3 times on the second day and then twice on the third day.
Does it make you feel sicker?
I don't know if it was because of the laxatives, but as time progressed, my stomach pain became more and more severe.
Right.
It was not until the 5th day. So I went on like this for 5 days, and it wasn't until the 5th day that my stomach pain was so severe. I'm sorry, I don't know if you guys can hear that.
Nope.
Can you? No, not at all. So my stomach pain was so bad that I couldn't lay down, I couldn't sit, I could not move my body without feeling like, it's such a weird way to I can't even describe really what the sensation is. It was just pain. It was the most intense, excruciating pain you've ever felt in your life.
So what position were you in then?
I mean, I was just laying, like, you mean like laying down or like sitting up or what?
Well, you were saying like I couldn't even move, like you said you couldn't lay down.
No, I couldn't, no. So I would just lay there. I would just literally just lay there, and I would try, like when I would try to like reposition myself, it was just incredibly painful.
Well,
and I would yell out in pain, like, like as I would, reposition myself in bed, and got no attention from anybody. Sorry,
was it like a pain, like I've had pain before where it's like it's almost like affects your soul, like you just like feel like
deep within,
like doom is coming, like a feeling of like a pain that's leading to impending doom.
So I'm so glad that you said that, because this is something I said in the TikTok that I hold on so tightly to this thought, because never in my life have I been so convinced, have I been so certain that I was going to die. I didn't know what was going on in my stomach, but there was this weird like hidden sense, like hidden instinct in my head that told, like, all like code red, this is like not a drill, you're going to die. Like, I was convinced, I knew for a fact that I was going to die, that I was dying. And I didn't know how to deal with it because the nurses weren't helping. And, I finally told the nurse, I'm like, hey, I'm in so much pain. Please help me. Please. I'm begging the nurse at this point.
Right.
And I'll never forget these words. She says to me, she goes, you're here for facial trauma. You're not here for stomach issues.
Wow.
Yes, I know.
Because that's the only bad thing that could ever happen. Only the thing.
Yeah.
There's no other issues that could possibly come up while you're in the hospital for 3 weeks.
Of course, right? And she says that and just walks off. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to die. I knew at this point that I was going to die. So I go ahead and I call my baby mama. We're not together anymore, but I call the mother of my children. And I call her and I say, hey, are you going to come see me today? She says, yes, of course. I said, I need you to do me a favor. She says, what? I'm like, I need you to bring me some pants and a shirt and some shoes. And she's like, for what? And I said, just do it. Just fucking do it. Please do it. And I'm desperate at this point. And in my mind, I was so desperate and in so much pain and so fixated on leaving this place that I had decided that I didn't want to die in the hospital, because I knew I was going to die in the hospital, and I knew that there was nothing I could do about it. But I didn't want to die at the hospital. I wanted to die outside. I wanted to look at the sky for one last time. I wanted to feel the wind. I wanted to walk out in the open. And I said to myself, if I die in the street, I don't care. I'd rather die out there like an animal than die in here like a piece of garbage.
So you accepted the fact that you were going to die.
I knew I was going to die. I knew it was so. It was. I cannot describe. It's like arguing. It's like arguing that the sky is not blue. Right. It's I was so sure that I was dying and that I was going to die, and I believed it, and I still believe it to this day. And so my ex, she gets there, and she's got this little book bag for me with my clothes and stuff. And visiting hours are over, so she leaves. And in this hospital, it's set up in a way where there's other people in the same area that you are in. So I'm kind of looking around at all these other people that are there, and I'm just kind of like, I don't want them to know what I'm doing, right? So I rip out my IVs, like I ripped my IVs out for my arms, And, at this point, the blood's just like coming down my arms. And I take off my clothes. I got butt naked right there. I took off my clothes and I put on my jeans and my shirt. And I started walking out, and I was very, very, very discreet about it. I just kind of like eased up on like the entrance to my room. And I start looking around. I'm like, there's no way I'm going to make it out this way. And I look this way and there's a fire exit. And I'm like, okay, that's what we're going to do. So I go over to the fire exit, and I'm on the 8th floor of this hospital. So I make it to the fire exit, and I look over the railing, and it seems like infinite stairs spiraling downwards. And
this was when it was like unbearable to move still, right?
This was when I would,
Wow.
as I'm doing all of this, I am trying to restrain myself from screaming out in pain because I am in such an excruciating amount of pain.
Right.
So I start making my way down the stairs, and I made it to about the 6th or 7th floor. And there was a group of in the TikTok I said doctors, but it's only because it's hard to explain, and it's confusing if I said security guards. But there was security guards at this hospital. It's a very normal thing for, other, less safe countries to have security guards, like armed security guards, even at your local convenience store. You know what I mean?
Even the U.S. has hospital security guards.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, there you go.
Or at least in Utah. Maybe other states don't. I don't know. But that's how they do.
Yeah. So I make it to, 7th or the 6th floor. I don't really remember. And, there's like a group of them, and they're kind of looking up at me because they know I'm coming, right? And I remember when I saw them, I just kind of stood there, and I was so tired. And at this point, I just given up. I thought, okay, I'm going to die. Whatever. So I said to these guys, I'm like, look, you guys are going to have to carry me because I'm not walking. And they did. And they picked me up, and they carried me back to my room. And I got to my room, and the nurse is in there, and she's like, giving me this look. And that was it for me. I blew up. I started screaming. I wasn't even saying anything. I was just screaming at the top of my lungs. I flipped over my bed. I ripped down the curtains that go around the bed. I started flipping everything over, and I just started screaming and screaming because I don't know what else to do.
Yeah.
Right.
And because I became so agitated, I just passed out. I passed out, and I woke up strapped into my bed, like they had the little leather belts around my arms and legs.
Yeah.
And I remember waking up, and there's this doctor standing there with my dad, and this is the only time my dad ever made an appearance at the hospital. And I remember the first thing the doctor said to my dad was, or at least the first thing I heard him say was, is he that white or is he pale? And my dad was like, no, he's pale. He's very pale. And I'm laying there, and the doctor's like, okay, I'm going to check you out. Okay. He's like, please tell me where it hurts. And I'm like, everywhere. It hurts everywhere. It hurts. I can't I'm going to die. I'm dying. Please help me. I'm dying. Like begging this doctor to save my life because I knew I was going to die.
Right.
And he's like, let me just examine you. Please calm down, relax. Let me examine you. And, he maybe grazed my stomach just a bit. And I immediately started screaming because it was just that bad. And so they take me for an ultrasound, and they do, they start looking, they like I was a pregnant woman, they start doing the thing with the, rubbing the whatever the device on my stomach. Yeah. And there's nothing there. They can't see my intestines. They can't see my stomach. They can't see anything. It's just black fluid floating around in there.
Wow.
So they didn't tell me anything. They didn't say anything to me. They just wheeled me out.
Yeah, probably didn't want to panic you, huh?
Yeah. So they did this little emergency surgery, like from below my belly button all the way down to my waistline, and they extracted some of this fluid, and then they stitched me back up, and they sent me back to my room, and they were getting the fluid tested. And when they were getting they got the fluid tested, they immediately rushed back into my room. And they're like, you're going in for emergency surgery. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. You got to come with us now. And they transfer me to a new bed, and they start rolling me to the operating table. And when I got there, this is something I also didn't mention, but I like telling this part just because it's really kind of gory. Kind of, not really, but it's pretty intense. So the doctors decided that they were going to put a feeding tube in me in anticipation for what was about to happen. And if you've never had a feeding tube in you, that thing could be like 4 or 5 feet long. It's a very long tube.
Really?
And what they do is they stick it in your nose, and when it gets to the back of your throat, they make you swallow, and the tube just starts going in, and it makes it all the way down to your stomach. So they put this tube in me right outside the operating room because they're prepping me for surgery. And when the doctors walked out for a minute, I don't know what they were doing. Maybe they were getting their instruments ready or whatever. I pulled the tube out of my nose because I couldn't stand the feeling of that thing in my throat. So the thing was so long that I literally pulled it out, and then I grabbed my other arm and I kept pulling.
So it was like a couple full arm lengths.
It was a couple of full arm lengths to get it out. And of course they forced it back in, and I went into surgery. And I don't know why this stuck with me the way that it did, but I'm laying there on the operating table, and there's this young doctor, and I can't see his face. He's got the mask on, and he sees my tattoo on my chest. Originally in the TikTok, I say he asked me if I have any kids, but really he asked me who's this, because I have my daughter's name tattooed on my chest. So he goes who's that? I said, that's my daughter. And he goes, well, this is for your daughter. And that's the last thing I remember before going under. And I flatlined. And they had to bring me back. But I don't remember any of it. I remember waking up in the intensive care unit, very disoriented, very confused, very thoroughly high. So high. I mean,
Right.
I can imagine.
It looks like the ceiling was like drooping down, like it was pudding. It was so weird. And I made it. I made it out of the hospital, and everything. And that kind of takes that kind of and just to sort of put a button that story up. Basically, what happened was that I had a hole in the small intestine right under my stomach. It's got a name. I think it's called the duodenum, something like that. I don't know. And basically, it's the piece of intestine that connects your stomach to the rest of your longer intestine, right? And I had a hole in there. I had a hole right there. The doctor said it was about half the size of a dime. Oh. And what happened was that all of my stomach acid was leaking out into the rest of my body. And they call it sepsis or bioseptic shock.
Yeah.
And basically your body starts to digest itself. Right. And that was the pain that I was feeling. It was a very strange sensation. And from what I understand, most people don't make it past 3 days on sepsis. And I was lucky enough to make it to 5 days and survive.
It's that tough guy DNA from your dad.
That's probably what it was. Yeah.
Dang. So I was gonna ask, did they not check for internal bleeding? I thought it was pretty typical after trauma to check for internal bleeding, but I guess that's so small it would probably be hard to detect immediately.
I couldn't tell you what they did check and what they didn't check for. All I know is that when I got there, my facial and my head injuries were so bad that they just focused entirely on my face and head. Okay. Right. I have scars on the inside of my mouth because from where so what they did to put my face back together, they took pieces of my cheekbone, because my cheekbone was in pieces. So what they did was they took the bigger pieces to seal this up. And then
the hole from your nose to your forehead.
The hole I had in my face. They took pieces from here to seal that up, and then plastic surgery to cover that. And then because my orbital bone was gone, what they did was they replaced the floor of my orbital. So my eye, you remember how my eye was gone, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my eye was actually caught behind my cheekbone.
Oh,
So
are you
my
serious?
eyeball was, yeah. So because like my eye, like the orbital bone shattered, the eyeball kind of like dropped.
It wasn't
from
kept
its
in
fell
place
down,
anymore.
kinda.
Yeah. So it was like right here, like right behind my cheekbone. So what they did was I don't know how they did it. All I know is that after my final surgery, like my final facial surgery, I had stitches everywhere. You know, I had stitches all inside of it, which seemed weird to me. Like, why would you need to go in my mouth? But I don't know how they did it, you know. So what they did was they replaced the floor of my orbital bone with just one plate of I think it was titanium, I think is what it is. And if you know, and I tell, like, my friends mess with me all the time because if you touch my, like, the whole outer rim of my eye, you can actually feel the metal plates and screws like all around my eye, because there's no bone, it's just metal. It's really just metal in there. And I got a plate because my cheekbone was gone, so they just replaced that with another plate. So this cheekbone, if you touch it, it's really round, and then this one is just flat and hard. So, and oddly enough, sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say they honestly did a really good job.
Yeah, your face looks really good.
Like the scars, like when I was watching your TikToks, I had to look like really closely. Like,
yeah,
they did a really good job, honestly.
Yeah. So there's a
Handsome
reason
man.
for that. Thank you, sir. There is a reason for that, and this is also something that I couldn't really get into on the on the TikTok. Hold on. Were you able to see the pictures of the accident, of my face after the accident?
Yeah.
The skull fracture, right? Like where...
Right. So there's a reason why, because like I said at the beginning, third world country medicine, Miami medicine is not the best medicine.
Right.
So I got incredibly lucky, because the day that I was taken to the hospital, they had just started I don't know if it was a medical convention, I don't know what it was, but basically what they did was that doctors, like really very good doctors from other countries, came to Miami to teach the doctors from here. So what they would do is they would take the most complex cases and they would fix them up, and they would teach the local doctors, like, okay, this is what you do if you get a case like this. So I was actually a case study. I had a gastro whatever like a stomach doctor from a totally different country work on my stomach, and that was a case study for the local doctors here. Like, because it was so bad, they were like, they basically taught these doctors, like, okay, this is what you do if you ever get a case like this. And then my face was so bad that this doctor from Spain, this plastic surgeon from Spain, took my case and made it a case study for the local doctors. Like, okay, this guy's entire right side of his face is obliterated. Let me show you how to fix that. And I was a case study for both the facial trauma and for the stomach thing.
Wow.
So that is the only reason why I don't look terrible, because I got really, really good care, which again seems outlandish to me. I made it right at the perfect moment.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Dude, the universe gave you
luckiest unlucky guy.
Yeah,
there you go.
The universe gave you a couple of sucker punches, and then was like, I'll help you out. Actually, I feel bad about
that. So yeah, that's gonna be such a hard surgery too. The one with the stomach acid. Like, do you know what kind of stuff went into that?
What I do know is that they showed me after the surgery was done. One of the doctors came up to me and he was like, "You want to see something cool?" And I was like, "Okay, I don't know how cool we can get in here, but yeah, sure, show me." And he pulls out this like I don't know what it was. It's like a weird medical bottles type thing with like measurements, and it was just over like half a liter. And he goes, "This is all the stuff we sucked out of your like abdominal cavity."
So they suck it like a vacuum.
Yeah, I guess.
Dyson
I guess they
with
did.
them actually.
Oh, look at that.
Dyson vacuums.
But yeah, that's all I know. And what's crazy is that I asked the doctors, like, why did this happen? Why did my intestine pop? Because that's basically what happened. And I got 3 different explanations from 3 different doctors. One doctor told me that it was because they did not give me a medicine that was supposed to help with the irritation, because apparently pain medicated, like narcotics, irritate your stomach lining.
Yeah.
So they're supposed to give you like a medication to help with that. So one of them told me that was why. Another one told me that it was because I had an ulcer in my stomach that just so happened to pop at the time of my accident. And then there was another doctor that told me that because of the force of the impact, my intestine just popped.
Wow,
so
really,
I don't know.
Yeah, nobody really knows what happened.
Know. I have no idea what happened. Yeah. So I don't really care. I'm happy to be alive.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So so this is where things get kind of weird. And I know that this part is not for everybody. And this is, as you guys can already tell, this is kind of a long story, but there's a lot to this. Right?
No, we love it. We love to hear it.
Yeah.
And I want to start by saying that I'm not a religious person. I have a love-hate relationship with religion. And we'll get into that in a bit.
Are you spiritual?
I like to think that I am. I like to think that I am. I don't know if I believe in something or if I'm just so scared for there not to be anything that I need to make myself believe something. It's just the same old existential crisis we all go through. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, let me turn my phone off. Someone's calling me. So a few months before my accident, my daughter was born. And again, I found out I was going to be a dad at 16. And my daughter was born right before I turned 17, if I'm not mistaken. And so my daughter, she was a very normal pregnancy. Everything was fine. And the day that my daughter was supposed to be born, or the day that the water broke, things became very complicated very fast. For some reason, my her heart rate began to drop, and she wasn't trying to come out, and they had to do an emergency C-section, and I wasn't there for it because here in a mystery location, aka Miami, you're not allowed in the hospital when your partner's giving birth. You're not allowed unless it's a private hospital that you're paying for. But if it's a public government hospital, then you can't be in there when they're operating. So or even when someone's giving birth. So my daughter's born, and I get the call like, hey, she's out. You can come to the hospital now. So I go, and I'm sorry that you'll see me get kind of I'll get kind of lost in my head because it's such a whirlwind of memories and emotions. For sure.
Right.
So I get to the hospital, and I'm so excited, and I get to the maternity ward. Is that what they call it?
Yeah.
The maternity ward, and I'm running past all these rooms, and as I'm running past all these rooms, I see all of these brand new moms with their brand new babies and their husbands there. And as I get closer and closer to my baby mama's room, or my ex's room, I walk in, and she's laying in bed, and she's got tears in her eyes, and she's just sitting there sobbing, and the baby's not there. She doesn't have the baby. And I said, what? Where's the baby? What's going on? And she says, I don't know. They're not telling me anything. I don't understand. Please go talk to the doctors. They don't want to give me any information. So my little 17-year-old ass walks over to the doctor, and I'm like, where the hell is my baby? Like, I want to see my baby, please.
Yeah, for sure.
And they're like, what are your last names? I'm like, oh, blah, blah, blah. So they gave me this little ticket thing, and they're like, okay, walk all the way down the hall, give the nurse this ticket, and they'll roll your baby out for you. And I walk down, and I give the nurse my ticket, and I'm looking through this window of this nursery, this room full of babies. And she walks over to this little baby, and she rolls her out over to me. There's this little area where you can interact with the child, and they roll her out, and I said, I don't understand. And they got her wrapped up like a burrito, so I can only see her head, her face. And she looked perfectly fine. She was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. And I said, I don't understand what's wrong. What is happening? Why can't she be with her mom? Why can't we take her home? And then the doctor was kind of hanging out, back there, and she walks over and she says, okay, look. And she just stood there for a second. And I don't know if it was because she was at a loss of words or because she was taken aback by how young I was, but she just kind of stood there. She's like, look. And then she fell silent for a second, and she just goes, just look. And she unwrapped my baby, and my daughter's legs were very severely deformed. Like, her legs looked like it's hard to even describe, really. And her legs looked like bendy straws, man. You know what I mean? Like they were just all they were bad. They were really bad.
Going the wrong
and I was like, what is this? What the hell's going on? And the doctor said to me, she said, it's very likely that your daughter won't walk. Your daughter's probably not going to walk. And I said, why? And she says, we're running some tests on her. That's why we can't give her to you yet. We're trying to figure out what's wrong with her. We want to know if this, what's the extent of this disability? Is it a mental disability as well? Is it only a physical disability?
Yeah.
We want to know what's going on, and that's why we can't give her to you yet. And then they rolled her away. And now I had to walk back to my ex and, and tell her this, as if she's not distraught enough already. And that was probably the hardest thing I've ever done in my life, telling not only my partner at the time, not only my the love of my life, but a new mother, to have to tell her, hey, your daughter, our child is there's something wrong, and she's like, what's wrong? And I couldn't even say. Even now I feel like the lump in my throat starting to climb up a bit. It's so hard. I could not say the words, her legs are deformed. I couldn't say it. It was incredibly hard, because you see a brand new baby, like just fresh out of the womb, and it's just the most heartbreaking thing, man. Yeah. And then when it's your kid, and I know that's a selfish thing to say, but when it's your kid, and it's insane. And then have to relay that to the mom. So, I tell her, it is
so much at once.
It's the hands down hardest thing I've ever had to do. And I tell her, and I just kind of let it out. I'm like, her legs are deformed, and the doctors don't know what's wrong, and they're running some tests on her, and they can't give her to you because they want to know what's wrong. And you'd have thought I told her that her daughter had just died. She was hysterical. And oh fuck, man, I'm sorry.
No, take your time.
I'm getting a little teary too, man.
And it's totally understandable. And what you said about it being selfish, that it's different when it's your own daughter. Like, I don't think that's selfish at all. It's like you want a good life for your child.
Just to go through that right when the birth happens. It's just so much, man.
So I, when she started losing it, she still had sutures in her abdomen from the C-section. So the doctors came in and sedated her because she was hysterical. So I, having to watch her be held down and sedated, and having just seen my daughter and having just gone through that, it was the worst fucking experience in my life. It was.
Was that a pretty traumatic day for you then?
It was, yeah. It was, yes. Yes, it was bad. It was very, very bad. And so, like, what do I do now? Like, do I go home? Like, what do I do? Like, I'm just kind of standing there in the hallway, and I'm just like, I'm so mad, I'm so angry, I don't know what to do. And I start making my way for the exit. And as I'm walking down the, down the hallway, I see this little chapel in the hospital. Well, I mean, it's like, yeah, is that what it is? The chapel, hospital chapel, yeah. This little church thing in there, and I walk in there, classic, Catholic setup, the stained glass and the Jesus hung up on the cross in the front, and all the benches, and it was empty. And I walked right up to Jesus on the cross. I walked right up to him, and I started screaming at him, and I started telling him, how, and I hate saying it now, just because of everything I've been through right after, but just for the sake of context and for retelling the story, I was saying, like, fuck you, you're not a god, you're a fucking, you're a demon, you're a monster, God wouldn't do something like this, you fuck you, like, just the worst things you could say to Jesus, right? Yeah. And yeah, just the worst things.
Pretty bad stuff, yeah.
Yeah, and among other things, I can't remember everything exactly that I said, but I do remember saying this. I remember I said, and it was almost in like a mocking way. I remember I was so angry, I was so pissed at God, and God was like no one to me. I was not, at 17, I wasn't really, I didn't, I'm just a normal kid. I'm not thinking about God and Jesus.
Right. Yeah. You didn't have like a relationship.
No, absolutely not. It's not like I didn't believe in him, but I never took any importance to it. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, so I remember saying to this Jesus statue, in a very mocking way, very angry, upset way, I said, if you really exist, if you're really almighty and all powerful, this is what you're going to do. You're going to cure my daughter. And anything that she's meant to go through, any pain, any suffering that is destined to be for her, you're going to give it to me. And that's just how it is. That's what you're going to do. And that was it. And I walked out of there, and I never thought about it again. And the first
God
few,
took it as a personal challenge.
He was like, say less. Yeah. And so the first few months after my daughter was born, it was, in and out of the hospital, physical therapy. We took her to all sorts of doctors and neurologists and just all sorts of doctors. And it was, it was really hard. It was very hard for a 17-year-old like myself to keep up with it all, having a disabled newborn.
I can't imagine that. 17-year-old me could not handle. Yeah.
And I was on my own. I didn't have anyone. I was working originally for myself, but now I have all of these medical expenses for all of these specialists. And in physical therapy, and it was a bad situation all around. So then I have my accident, right? And then I get out of the hospital. Now, mind you, when I left home that morning and I kissed my daughter goodbye, she was underweight. This is something I didn't know about newborns, but newborns are not supposed to lose even a quarter of a pound. They are supposed to consistently gain weight. And if they lose half a pound, if they lose an ounce, it's like the equivalent of me losing 10 pounds for no reason. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
it's progressively growing, right? Yeah, as a baby.
That makes sense. It makes sense.
Exactly. So my daughter was underweight. She was this little ball of skin and bone, and her head was much larger than her body, and her legs were all bad. And that was what my daughter looked like the morning I crashed. You know, I kissed her goodbye, and that was the last time I saw her before I got out of the hospital. Now, when I got out of the hospital and I went home, and you know, they wheeled me up to my room, and I'm laying in bed, and you know, I'm just kind of laying there, you know, all pathetic and lame because I can't even hold up my own weight because I'm, you know, fresh out of the hospital. And I tell my ex, I say, you know, where's the baby? Where's the baby at? And she goes, I'm gonna go get her right now. And you know, she goes and gets the baby, and she comes back with this big, fat, plump, beautiful, healthy looking baby with normal legs. And she's standing there with this baby. And I'm like, who is that? Like,
right.
whose baby is that?
Yeah.
She goes, this is your daughter. And I said, okay, all right. You're freaking, like, you're starting to scare me. Where's
right.
Yeah,
where's Ashton Kutcher right now?
Where's Ashton? And I said to her, I was like, okay, stop fucking around and just, you know, I don't know whose baby, I don't know why you have someone else's baby in my house, but just please don't get my daughter. Right. And she goes, hun, this is your daughter. And she put her in my arms, and I looked at her face, and I immediately recognized her, and I couldn't believe it. She was fine, man. I mean, she was like, she was normal. And I hate using that word. I really do. Because, you know, I don't want to seem like I'm insensitive to disabilities, you know, but she was just a normal, healthy, chunky baby. Right. There was nothing wrong with her. And I said, how is this possible? And she says, I don't know. She said she started getting, go ahead, sorry.
This is 4 weeks apart, right?
This is
from you kissing her goodbye to you seeing her again. Yeah, right. It's about a month apart.
Almost a month, right. So I'm like, how does this happen? She says, well, she started getting better right after you left. Like right after your accident, she started getting better. She started eating more. You know, physical therapy started working. You know, they gave her these little special boots that they helped her legs a ton, and you know, she's just doing fine. And I went to the doctor, you know, in my little pathetic physical state, and I said, why is my daughter so much better than the last time I saw her? And I'll never forget it. I'll never forget. The doctor just looked at me and he goes, look, just thank God, man. Just thank God. Just be thankful. So I guess that was his way of saying, I have no idea. You know? Yeah. But yeah, amazing. That is, and here's the thing. I at the time, I didn't directly associate it with the challenge that I had presented to God or to Jesus or whoever it is out there somewhere over the rainbow. I don't know. I didn't really directly associate it, but later in life, and that's sort of where the story ends, right? That's where the TikTok series ends. But there's a whole hidden side, very dark side to this that I didn't get to say on TikTok because I had such a hard time just telling the story and just knowing everything that I went through and knowing that it's something that even my closest friends and family don't know about, and just how crazy it really was and how unbelievable it does sound. I don't want to be that guy who is like, oh, it's this guy that always makes bullshit stories on TikTok.
Yeah.
Because, the car crash is one thing, your daughter is a whole nother thing, but this whole thing I'm about to tell you right now, this is just this is overkill. You're overdoing it now, and I didn't want it to get to that point. But I'm going to tell you guys because I feel sort of obligated to tell you now because I've told you everything. And also, more importantly, because I need to tell this story, man. I have to tell this story. And And I made a promise to myself when I was in the intensive care unit that if I made it out of the intensive care unit, and that was the second time I spoke to God, or at least, directed my speech to God. I said to him, if you get me out of here and you let me go home, I'm going to spend the rest of my life telling everybody what you did for me. Mm-hmm. And I got out of the hospital, and that never happened. So let me tell you what did happen right after I got out of the hospital. So this is the hidden journey to rock bottom story that I didn't want out there, but I'm going to tell now because it's a very I just got to get it out there. I have to do this for me.
Yeah.
So when I left the hospital, I was on they gave me a lot of narcotics. I don't know. They gave me a lot of medication for pain, and I was, even though I was happy about my daughter and everything, I was just at home all day, every day, without being able to walk and not being able to feed myself, and not, it was a lot of relearning how to do stuff because of the physical trauma, and mostly because of, I have 27 stitches down my abdomen. So when that's recent, like you can't move, you can't get up.
Right.
You're not allowed to.
Do you remember how much weight you lost?
I went into the hospital weighing 210 pounds, and I left the hospital weighing 107.
107?
170.
Okay.
Still 40
but
pounds.
Still 40 pounds is nuts. 170, man, that's nuts.
And I'm 6'2". So
wow.
That's very skinny for someone who's 6'2".
Yeah,
200 pounds, that's like an ideal weight for a 6'2" person.
Right.
But I'm at a whopping 260, but I'm happy about that. I have no problem.
It's better than 170.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm kind of in this really bad headspace. I'm just day in and out. It's the same. I need help to go to the bathroom. I need help to wipe my ass. I can't do anything for myself, and I just get really depressed. And I'm taking these pain medications, and when I begin to regain my, physical, abilities, I guess, walking and sitting and doing things for myself, I don't know. I would attribute it to me just being young and reckless. I would attribute it to me just being depressed, but I can't really tell you why I did what I did. But I just, for some reason, I began, I guess, just trying to numb myself, and I would experiment with different pharmaceutical drugs that I found, and I started consuming other things that, I don't want to get too specific about what I was consuming, but I was consuming, things that were not, I shouldn't have been.
Not so fantastic.
And right. And I also became, a very heavy drinker, and so about a year out of the hospital, painkillers and drugs and alcohol, and I just kind of, that sensation that I wanted, that numb feeling that I needed so bad to forget about my pain became my new normal. I didn't really feel any particular way about anything anymore. It was just sort of like I was skating through life hoping that something would happen. I don't know. I don't really know. I was lost, and what ended up happening was that I because there's a lot of other unimportant stuff that happened in between, but to fast forward a little bit, I became very mentally disturbed. There were things going on in my head that I couldn't control, and that might, and I logically, reasonably, I would attribute that to the drug use and the alcohol abuse.
Yeah.
But I just had these disgusting, dark thoughts. Thoughts about hurting myself, thoughts about hurting my family, thoughts about hurting my kids, thoughts about just these really crazy, and they weren't like impulses. Like I didn't have the impulse to do anything. It was more like a
Like an ideation type of thing.
Yeah, it was more like a visualization of my worst fears just playing over and over again in my head, just tormenting me, you know? And you know, people, you know, I have a group of friends that I've known for a while, and they, you know, they can tell you, and you know, they might never tell you, but you know, if you were to ask them, you know, what I was like back then, they'll tell you I was a totally different person. Yeah, I didn't care about anything. It's like I didn't care about my life.
Yeah.
You know? So I'm going to turn this way because that sun is getting kind of annoying. Oh, fuck. How do I get it? Sorry. There we go. So, yeah. So this all sort of boiled down to one very critical moment in my life. And this is the reason why I didn't want to tell this on TikTok, because this is a triggering thing for a lot of people.
Yeah.
You know, and it's not something to just kind of nonchalantly, hey, I did this one time, you know?
Right. Flip through the next video, yeah.
Yeah. So I became so agitated, and so the word that I like to use is tormented. It was torment going on in my head. I couldn't sleep at night. I couldn't eat. I was drinking every day. I hated myself. I just hated myself. I hated everything about myself. I don't know. I just became this really dark, negative person. And one day, I was sitting there. You know, I was kind of sitting in my living room in the dark. Sometimes I wouldn't even stay up and look at my phone. I would just sit in the dark, awake for hours, and not be able to sleep because I had so much going on in my head. And one day I decided that I was gonna end it. I told myself, this is it. I can't live like this anymore. I'm gonna take my life. I can't. It was my need for peace was so vast and so enormous, and my torment was so consistent and so brutal and so it was so bad that I needed to get out, and even if that meant taking my life. So I planned how I was going to do it.
Oh, so it wasn't like an impulsive thing then.
Mm-mm.
Wow.
No, I planned it. I knew the day. I knew the time. I knew how I was going to do it. I got the, you know, I bought the rope. And I was gonna do it, man. I was gonna do it, and I bought myself a bottle of vodka. And it was like my little, my little kit. You know, I had it stashed away for the perfect moment.
Got everything prepared, yeah.
Yeah, and the day came. The day came. It was a Wednesday night, and you know, I got out my little bottle of vodka, and I got out my rope. And I set up the rope. I didn't even tie a noose because I don't know how to tie a noose. I just made a knot, and I'm like, I'm going to tighten that bitch when I get up there. And I just kind of, you know, I grabbed the chair and I put the chair in front of the rope, and I sat there and I drank vodka and just contemplated how much better I was going to feel after I did what I was about to do.
Wow.
And I sat there and I made it to about half the bottle of vodka, you know, and when I went to go get up, you know, and I was gonna, my plan was, you know, get up, grab the chair, get on the chair, just do it fast. Don't think about it. Just do it, you know, kick the chair away and just do it. And when I got up out of my chair, I don't know if it was because I was so drunk or if it was maybe a combination of my mental and emotional state. But I got out of my chair and I just collapsed, and I was just on my knees, crying hysterically by myself in the dark. And it was like, midnight, maybe 1 o'clock in the morning, just sitting there on the floor crying and just feeling so pathetic and so weak and so unworthy of life. And I remember just kind of looking at the ceiling and saying, I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't do it. Please help me. Please help me. Please. And I just passed out. And I woke up the next morning, and I woke up on the floor. The chair was right there. The rope was still up. And I looked at my watch, and I'm like, holy shit, I'm late for work. I gotta go. Totally forgot about, what I was gonna do. And this right here is what I mean by when I say that this is just overkill now. Mm. So when I get to work, this part, this right here, this is, what I interpret it as you may. I got to work, and I'm looking like hell. I look like shit. I'm hungover. I'm recently I'm fresh from my failed suicide attempt.
Right.
And I walk into work on a Thursday morning with my cup of coffee, and this coworker of mine, who I'd never spoken to before. I mean, it was like a very formal work, like, hey, how you doing? Mondays, just a regular coworker. We never really got, never talked. How's the wife? That's it.
Classic work talk, yeah.
Yeah, classic, water cooler talk, nothing more than that. And I walk into work, and I'm headed to my desk, and this coworker of mine, he like rushes over to me, like beelines it for me. And he's like, hey, I got to talk to you about something incredibly important. You need to come with me right now, please. And I said, what do you want? He's like, just please. He's like, I know this is weird, but I need you to come with me, please. And I said, okay, all right, sure. So he takes me to like the little corner of the office where there's no desks, and, it's just kind of chairs. And it's like a little conference area. And, he takes me there, and we sit down, and he says to me, I don't know why, but I have to pray for you right now. What do you mean? He's like, I don't know. I don't understand it either, but I have to pray for you right now. And it's incredibly important that I do it right now. And I said, what are you doing? Where are you getting this from? He said, I don't get it either. Okay. But can we please just pray? Please just pray with me. And I said, man, okay, fine. Just go ahead. Just pray, I guess, So he puts his hands on my shoulders, and he like bows his head. He's sitting directly in front of me, and he puts his hands on my shoulders, and he bows his head, and he starts praying. And I'm sitting there like, this is so stupid. This is pointless.
So you didn't even connect it with the night before at all?
No, no, I didn't. But at that moment, I was like, this is the dumb, what the fuck am I, is there people watching? This is embarrassing,
Right.
And as I'm thinking that in my head, this incredible, amazing, beautiful feeling just overwhelmed my body. It was like a physical warmth just wrapped around me. And even though I didn't hear anybody say anything, I understood at that very moment. It was like I heard it telekinetically in my head. I heard someone say, you're not alone. Everything's going to be okay. I never left, and I'm here now. I love you. And I heard it in my head. Oh, fuck, man. Shit. I'm sorry, dude.
Dude, take your time. If you need us to talk for a minute, we can talk whatever you need.
No, let me get it out. And it was the only way I can really describe it is it just felt like love, man. And I know that sounds like whatever, you know. I know I'm not.
No.
It felt like the purest love. It just felt like there was this presence, this aura just wrapped around my soul, my heart, just injecting me with just love, like rejuvenating my soul with love. And I still don't really understand what happened that day. You know?
Right. Yeah. No, that's just.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
That's just nuts. I don't know.
That's beyond words.
Yeah.
And that's why I realized I can't make this a TikTok. You know, like this is crazy. I have a hard enough time getting through this story.
All right.
You know? And so after that day, I had a newfound love for God, you know? And it was so night and day. I came home from work that day and I hugged my girlfriend and I hugged my daughter and I hugged my son and I just told them I loved them, and I was, you know, there was a skip in my step and I was just this totally different man, you know? And even my girlfriend at the time, she's like, what the hell, what got into you? Are you okay? She's like, I mean, you seem great, but what is this? Like, what is this all about? Like, is everything all right? And I said, yes, you know, everything is great. Everything's going to be perfect. I love you. I love our life, you know, and everything was just fine and dandy.
Wow.
Right?
Amazing.
So this is where, and I promise you guys, we're getting to the end of the story now. I promise. I'm
loving this.
No, yeah. I hope we're not near the end.
So I needed to take this newfound love and purpose in my life, and I needed to concentrate it on God, right? At least that's. Sorry, go ahead.
Really fast, actually. Sorry to interrupt, but how long did this like dark period last? I just trying to get like a time frame.
From the time I got out of the hospital to maybe 2.5, maybe 3 years.
Oh wow, okay.
Maybe 3 years.
3 years of just drugs, alcohol, dark thoughts.
Just hating.
So you were like 20
my life.
or so when.
Right. Right around there. Yes.
Okay, but sorry, continue.
No, you're fine. So, I was convinced at that time that, you know, my purpose was to find a church and to congregate and to become a man of God, like a true man of God, right?
Yeah.
So I started going to all these different churches and I hated them. I hated all of them. And then I found this one church where I felt like I really belonged. I said, this is it. This is the place. This is the place for me. I love this place. And, you know, I started going to this church and they have this thing called Testimony Tuesdays, right? Yeah, which is hilarious, but I mean, that's how they do it. They got this thing called Testimony Tuesdays where, whoever in the congregation wants to, you know, go up in front of everyone and tell, this is what God did for me.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
You know, and just kind of tell it to the world. And I thought to myself at that moment, I promised God that I was going to tell everyone what he did for me. And I have not done that yet. So let me do this right now. Let me capitalize on this opportunity that I've just been handed. Right. And I walk up and I waited and there was a whole line of people and they're like, oh, you know, I finally paid my card today. And, you know, I graduated, you know, everyone, you know, God, you know, all thanks to God, and I prayed for this and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, wow, this is so amazing. This is so beautiful. I love this. I really love this, you know? And there was people even behind me and I just let them go ahead of me because I wanted to go last because I knew I was going to take a while. And finally I get up there and I tell the car accident story and my daughter's story. You know, I tell that. Right back to back. You know, I tried to condense it as much as I could, but I was probably up there for maybe 20 minutes telling this story. And there was people on their feet. You know, there were people crying. People just like, hallelujah, like everyone they were loving it, they were loving it. So after that, the pastor, comes up to me and he says, you have a purpose in life, right? And I said, I mean, yeah, I've been told, and the reason why I said that is because as a Christian, or whatever you are, you're supposed to believe that there is a purpose for your life, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So I didn't say it like boasting about myself. I said, like, yeah, I've been told, I got to figure it out, but yeah, I suppose I do have a purpose. And he says, no, you have a mission, and I know what your mission is, and I'm going to help you accomplish it. And I said, what's my mission? He says, your mission is to become a pastor. You're going to be a preacher. That's your mission. You've been sent here to guide the people in the dark to the light. And I said, why? Why are you saying this right now? And he says, I've been a pastor for 15 years, and I've never seen someone take the microphone and move the congregation the way you just did. And I know that God brought you to me so that I can teach you how to do this properly. And he took me under his wing, and he started teaching me how to become a pastor, and he started teaching me how to preach. He taught me about the Bible, and then he paid for, college level theology classes. And I started becoming this Bible holding Jesus freak of a man. And I was that guy that couldn't talk without mentioning God or Jesus, Right. We all know somebody like that. That was me.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, how's your day today? Oh, thank the Lord, I woke up, I got breath in my lungs, and, hopefully, Jesus willing, the rest of the day will be, that was me.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think about that person, and even though it is embarrassing, I have come to terms with it, because I know that in my mind and in my soul and in my heart, I was in the right place. I was being very genuine.
And why do you feel embarrassed by that? Like I don't know. I feel like that's very understandable. I don't think that's a bad thing.
I don't think it's a bad thing either. It's just that it's a very stark contrast to who I am now.
Okay, I see.
You know what I mean? And and there's nothing wrong with it. And it also has to do with my views on religion today. And there's nothing wrong with it, because I felt God's love, and I felt like I was acting on it in the right way. And everything was going fine. And I was given the opportunity to preach at different places, and I was being trained on how to be a pastor and a preacher, and everything was going great. And right when everything just felt like, this is the rest of my life. I love my life. I love myself. I love my family. I love my kids. I love God. I love the church. Everything is perfect. Right when I thought that this was it. I have accomplished my mission. I'm going to do this. In a span of 3 weeks, I found out that my girlfriend was having an affair.
Oh man.
For 3 years. She had been having an affair for 3 years.
That's a long time.
We were together for 7 years, and she was with this guy for 3 years of that 7-year relationship. And I lost my job. I lost my car, and my girlfriend moved out with the kids. I lost my family, and finally I lost my house. I was forced to move from my home. I lost everything in literally 3 weeks. It was the worst 3 weeks of my life. Like job, house, family, car, everything gone. Like it, just like that. It was gone. Yeah. It was gone.
Wow.
And even then I couldn't bring myself to stop going to church. So I kept going to church, but I started drinking again, and I started smoking again, and I started consuming again. But I would continue to go to church. And sometimes I would go to church under the influence.
Right.
And what ended up happening was that I was, excommunicated, whatever you call it.
Yeah.
I was like, hey, you can't, you got to go. You can't do that here. And so I ended up I ended up living in my car for a while, which was the last thing I lost. That was the last thing I lost. I lost my car. My car stayed with me for a few months after all of that happened, but I ended up losing that too. So I lived in my car for a while, and things got really bad, and I did that for a while. And the day I hit rock bottom, I know what day it was. What happened was, my life was so unstable, and I was doing all of these things, and I was living in, friends' homes, like couch surfing really for a while. And what ended up happening was that I ended up having to move back in with my dad because I had nowhere to go. And even though I hated the thought of moving back in with my dad, I had to, otherwise I was going to be out on the street.
Yeah.
So I moved back in with my dad, and he kept telling me, like, I don't want you, no drinking, no this, no that, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, yeah, Dad, for sure, of course, which was not the case. I might as well would have been homeless. I spent all my time out on the street. I became a very, very, very heavy alcoholic, much, much worse than I had the first time. And from sunrise to sunset, it was nothing but alcohol. And then I decided there was this day. This is the day I hit rock bottom. This is the day. I'm going to describe this day to you because I think about this day, and I think about where I was, and I think about where I am now, and I am so thankful that I am out of where I was. So the day I hit rock bottom was the day I woke up in the gutter, hungover, and immediately used my last few dollars for alcohol. Drank as much as I could, fell asleep at the park, woke up. I don't know what time it was, but it was nighttime, definitely. I woke up at night at the park, and I'm kind of sitting on this bench talking to myself, like, about everything that happened to me. And it wasn't anything coherent. It was just like, man, fuck that bitch. I don't fucking hate you. Fuck you. Like, just right. like I was insane. Like, you would have walked right past me. I was like a crackhead on the street. Yeah. And I'm sitting there like talking to myself, and like I got the chills because I need more alcohol. And right across the basketball court is this little group of guys. There's like maybe 7 of these guys, and they got a cooler, they got a little grill going, and they got bottles of liquor. They got vodka and Smirnoff and all this other stuff. So I'm sitting there across the basketball court, like,
eyeballing it.
Yeah, I'm like, there's no way these guys are gonna give me alcohol if I ask for it. Right. So I'm like, I gotta figure this out. Because I need alcohol. If I don't get alcohol, I'm gonna get very sick. Yeah. And at this point, I need to stay drunk to feel okay. So I walked over to this table of these guys who were having this little get together, and they all just kind of looked at me, and they're all, like, I'm not like a big muscular dude, but I'm like larger than average. So these guys, I just kind of like muscled my way through them, and I like grabbed their bottle of Smirnoff, and I just like started guzzling it as fast as I could because I knew that they were going to try to take it from me. Right. So these guys are like jumping for the bottle, and I'm like trying to keep them at bay, and I'm like drinking it. And finally they get the bottle back. I got it down to like half the bottle, and they're like punching and kicking me and pushing me away, and I'm just like, thank you guys, like being a total dick about it.
Right.
And that night, I decided I don't want to sleep on the park bench anymore. Let me go home to my dad's. And I go home to my dad's place, and he saw the state that I was in. And basically what ended up happening was that he forced me to get clean or become homeless. And he gave me a really tough ultimatum. And what he ended up doing was that he arranged it so that I could go out to a family member's house that was like way out, because like, out here in third world Miami, we got lots of jungle, lots of desert. There's different climates and stuff. So he made it so that I could go out in the middle of like the forest and stay there with some family for a while. And after 2 weeks of, you know, withdrawals and just pain and headaches and sweats, you know, I woke up one day and I was just like, what the hell am I doing? What the fuck? This is pointless, you know? Yeah. And I decided finally to go home, and I went back home. My dad's like, what are you doing here? And I'm like, Dad, I promise I'm fine. I promise I'm okay. And I haven't drank like that in a real, I'll drink socially, you know, like if there's like a little barbecue, I might have a beer here and there, but I definitely I'm happy to say that I'm not an alcoholic, and that I do not consume drugs, and that I haven't for a very long time, and that I'm in a very stable place in my life. I have a great job. I see my kids every other weekend.
That's amazing, man.
And I just so happened to upload a video on TikTok one day and became viral, and now we're here, and this is life now, and I'm the happiest I've ever been, and things are great now.
That's great, man.
That's amazing.
It's crazy to me that you can still get away with drinking alcohol after going through all of those terrible things with alcohol. That's nuts, man.
I know, man. Believe me, it's not, man. There's so much, like, there's a lot of stuff in there that, you know, like little mini stories of my alcoholic adventures. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, I got myself into a lot of trouble. I lost a lot of friends. I lost, you know, people that I thought would never turn their backs on me were just like, no, we can't associate with you anymore. Like, no, you know. But
for sure.
But hey, you know, the people that stood by me throughout this whole experience, and I don't know who's going to see this and who isn't going to see this, but the people that have been there for me throughout it all, I can count those people with one hand, with the fingers on one hand. And they were there for me from the beginning, and they're still very, very, very close friends now. And it's so cool to like look back and just think like, wow, I was sleeping on the street begging for $1 to buy myself a little shot of vodka a few years ago, you know, and now I, you know, I don't get me wrong, I'm not like super well off, you know, but like I'm a bachelor, like I live by myself. I don't respond to anyone. I don't take orders from anybody. I'm just a free man, and I do what I like, and I do what I please, and I don't need alcohol to feel okay, and I don't need drugs to feel okay. You know, I like watching Netflix and making some grilled cheese at night and eating the whole tub of ice cream if I want, you know?
Right,
and life is good. Life is really good, man, you know?
For sure. Oh my gosh, yeah. Like, crazy that just a couple of years.
And it's also amazing because like I'm thinking like, you know, you might have coworkers or people that walk by you on the street and they have no idea the shit you've gone through, and that just makes me think of like, man, there's people all around us everywhere where like we have no idea.
You don't know their story.
Through. Yeah, dude.
You don't know their story. Like I swear to you, had you been walking down the street, had you been walking in the park and you saw me like in the fetal position under the park bench talking to myself, you wouldn't have been like, oh no, is he okay? You would have just like, oh, here's another disgrace to society. You know what I mean? Or, you know, not so negative, but you know what I mean. It's just, we don't think about it. We just walk right over those people. And I was there, man. And it's hard. I understand why people don't make it out of that, man. I get it.
Yeah.
Because you got nobody to pull you out. You have to drag yourself out of that situation, man.
Do you think if your dad wasn't there, you would not have been able to get out of that?
I firmly believe my dad saved my life. I was gonna drink myself to death, man. I was gonna drink myself to death. He was like, the only thing he didn't do was tie me up, but he forced me to go. You know, he was like, you're going, you know, you're going, and you're just going, and that's it. And it was just picture this little house in the middle of like the forest, and there's like no roads, and there's no lights, it's just you and nature, and a family friend who sometimes cooks for you and other times makes sure you're still alive and keeps you hydrated.
Yeah.
And then, I just woke up one morning and I felt that fresh forest air, and I just decided I wanted to live, I just wanted my life back.
Yeah. You didn't want to waste the years away.
Exactly. So that's who I am. That's who I am. And I, it's not something you tell just anybody. And it's so ironic because this is not something I tell everybody. And I know that a lot of people are going to see this, but at the same time, I also know that a very large majority of my close friends and family will never see this.
Yeah.
Right.
They won't because they don't speak English.
Yeah.
So it's like, this is on a platform where I know, as public as it is, it's never going to come back to me in a negative way. And like I said, and even if it does, even if my family does find out about it and they see this, and I don't really fucking care. It's just like, you don't know what I went through, man. You don't know what it took to be where I'm at now.
And none of it's shameful.
None of
the stuff that you went through is shameful at all.
No. Yeah, I guess you're right. Thank you. I
don't see it that way, at least.
No, for sure. Neither do I. Like it's hard.
There's I don't know who said the quote. I want to say it was Bill Burr. I don't know if you know who that is. He's a comedian.
Oh, I love Bill Burr.
I think it was him, but there's this quote where it's like, life is just eating a shit sandwich. And, some people, like, theirs might have, like, some mayo or some pickles to try and make it taste better, but, like, at the end of the day, like, everyone is just eating a shit sandwich. And, like, I loved that, because I'm like, everyone, like, I've never had to experience anything as hard as you've gone through, know? But, like, in my eyes, it's like, it's like another shit sandwich, like, it's not his fault,
Right, yeah.
Like, none of it's shameful.
I
appreciate that, man.
I think everybody, at some point in their lives, comes to the conclusion where, like life doesn't owe you a goddamn thing, and I feel like you learned that really early on.
Oh yeah.
And it's a hard thing to grasp for sure. I mean, even just at 17, like having even just having a daughter would be so intense for me. But having her be disabled and then going through all that, like I am having such a hard time trying to find words to describe it.
And quite honestly, like the feeling I'm feeling right now is like I feel honored that like you're willing to share this with us.
For sure.
Oh,
like,
thank you, man.
Even if it wasn't like recorded, even if it was just us, like I would feel honored to like hear this story.
I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that. Yeah, I just don't know what to do now, Like I mean from like because I've had TikTok has become such a stressful thing for me because I did not I believe that I should have capitalized on the moment that I went viral, but I just didn't know what I was doing,
Yeah.
And now it's like, if you look at my videos now, they have absolutely nothing to do with what I went viral for. But it's because I don't know what I'm doing anymore. And I don't know how to retain I don't know. It's become stress. Like, should I tell this story? Is this too much? Is this, you know what I mean? But what I will say is that this experience right here at this podcast, this was very therapeutic for me.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, it sounds like you needed to get something off your chest, and it's nice that that your family doesn't have to know about this, and that you can.
Yeah.
They
probably won't. I mean, if they do, and like I said, even if they do,
right?
Like they probably wouldn't, unless they had someone sit next to them translating absolutely everything. There's no way they would,
Yeah.
And even if they did, like I said, man, like you weren't there for me when I was, when I was at my lowest. So I don't care what you think anymore. And it's just, and I haven't told this whole story, like this entire story, from my car accident to actuality through the whole addiction and the pastor thing, like this entire story, this whole thing pieced together. This is the first time I've ever told that entire linear story. I've never actually told this story before.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for telling it. And I know you did go through a lot telling it, and I did as well.
Yeah, it was a roller coaster hearing it.
It was. It really was.
Yeah, it was, man. This was a lot of fun. This was fun. I mean, are we talking about? Is there anything else we're gonna touch on?
I definitely have some questions. If that's okay.
I'm down. Yeah, I'm down.
Okay.
So, real quick, I was actually really curious. Have you had any feeling since that that prayer? Have you had any similar feelings since then?
Like the coworker?
Yeah,
prayer?
the coworker prayer. I sorry.
No.
Or the fuck you God prayer? No, I'm just kidding.
That one, yes. I've been angry at God, but no, it's there was this one time where I was going through a bit of a hard time, and I kneeled down and this was back when I was just ending my Jesus freak phase and re-entering into my alcoholic phase. I remember getting on my knees and just telling God, like, hey, you've allowed me to feel your presence before, but it's been so long since I felt it. Can you please just let me feel you just one time, just to make sure that I'm not talking to myself? And I felt it very briefly, very momentarily. It was like, I'm still here, and then it was just gone, it just kind of faded. But that was probably the last time I felt like that.
And so, what exactly am I trying to ask? Like, you went through that phase where you were really religious, and like you really believed in, sounded like a Catholic or Christian version of God. Yeah. So what do you believe now, and like why do you feel it changed away from that?
Yeah. So I went to when I started this whole thing, when I started my whole pastor religious phase and everything, I went to a Catholic church, I went to a Pentecostal church, I went to an evangelist church, and I hated everything about it. I didn't like it at all. But then I went to a Baptist church, and I loved it. I loved the way they explain everything and the way how everything is so relatable, or at least my pastor, I still maintain very regular communication with my pastor. We talk from time to time. For me, what did it was I couldn't really wrap my head around how one moment you're trying to help me, and you say that you love me and you say that I'm your brother and you say all of this, but the moment that I slip and the moment that I fall, rather than help me, immediately I'm judged. By the very people that are telling me that they're my brothers and sisters. Oh, brother, good morning, and it just whatever. It's very frustrating. It has been a very long time since I've walked into a church and I've listened to someone preach and I could feel their words. When and this happened to me as recently as January. I tried going back to church just because, not because I was depressed or anything, just because I was like, let me just try to, let me see where I'm at,
Right. Keep the open mind,
Right. So I went to church, and it's just I have yet to see or yet to find a pastor that is integral with his words and that is not judgmental. If you preach that you're supposed to love everybody equally, and I walk into your church and you say, on the day of judgment, those non-believers that shame us, we'll have the last laugh, blah, blah, like, no, that's not it, man. That's not it. Don't talk about how just because you're an atheist, you're a bad person. Don't talk about just because you don't do this or just because you don't do that, you're condemned to hell. That's not it.
Yeah.
That's not it. I hate that. And so when I walk into a church and I see a pastor, I see a preacher, and they talk, I see nothing more than, I really have no other word for it than a charlatan. You're talking out of your ass, man. Like you don't feel like, at least when and I'm not perfect. I'm not.
Yeah, no one is.
But when I was starting to preach or learning how to preach, that shit just flowed out of my heart like a fountain. Like I wouldn't even think about what I was saying. I would just let my feelings and my thoughts out, and people would follow that, and that's what you're supposed to just allow yourself to become inspired by God, become inspired by what it really means, and the reason why I've come to hate religion. I hate religion. I'll say it 10 times. I fucking hate religion. I hate it. The reason why is because the older I've become and the more research I've done, I've come to realize that religion is like social classes these days.
Yeah.
It's like you can't get into my club because you're this or you're that, or because
Okay.
You can't be a Christian because you smoke or you drink. You know what I mean? That's why religion has become more of a means to divide rather than to bring people together. If you were a true Christian or a true religious person, let's just wrap it up in one ball here. If you were really a religious person, you would have just as much love for your real brother or real sister as you would for your neighbor, or as you would for the mechanic, and that's hard. And I understand that's hard, but the sheer and the utter hypocrisy that I've encountered when I've tried to go back to church, even after I was banned from church, and I showed up again as rehabilitated as a new man.
Yeah.
The looks and the whispers and the murmurs,
the judgment.
Exactly.
It hurts.
So
it hurts.
So I hate that, and that's why I hate religion. And I believe there is something, and I like to call it God, and I don't know what it is, but whatever it was, it's guided me and it's shown me things throughout my life that I feel like I was supposed to see for some reason.
For sure. Yeah, well, Jesus is seen as supposed to be someone who's like not judgmental at all, right?
Exactly.
He I think it's funny because a theme throughout his life is he hated the religions. He hated like the organized religions. He liked he adhered to the doctrine, like that what the religion was actually about, but not like the cultural aspects of the religions.
And he hung out with the prostitutes, right?
Yeah.
He was seen as the guy who didn't judge anybody.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what it's about. That right there.
And to be fair, I definitely think there are people in religions that are like that. But
for sure.
When it gets organized and it becomes sort of like you said, kind of like a social club. Then it's it forms a culture that does not adhere to what Christ actually taught, I feel. And that's not always, but that's just a common theme that I've seen. For sure.
Man, I walked into a church one time, and the pastor went off for about 10 minutes about how what do they call it? Is it the offering when you give?
Oh, the sacrament.
When they pass a little basket around and you
give money.
Tithing.
Is it an
offering.
Tithing? Is that
I
what
don't
it
know.
is? I know it in Spanish, but I don't know it in English. Is it tithing? Is that what it is?
Tithing is
some places call it. Yeah, some people call it tithing. I think offering is one that's used in English.
Okay, let's call it an offering. So I walked into a church one time. I had heard a lot of good things about this place, and I'm like, okay, let me go check it out. Right? I've been on this weird search for a long time to try to repair and mend my relationship with God. Even though I know that I don't have to, because I know that in my heart and in my head, I'm right with him, because I know that I'm not going to be judged because I smoke a cigarette or I drink a beer every now and then. You know what I mean? I know I won't be judged on that. I know that I'll be judged based on my thoughts, based on my feelings towards myself and towards others, and my actions towards myself and towards others. So I'm okay with that. I walked into a church one time, and this pastor was going on and on about how they are not getting the amount of tithings or offerings that they need to keep the church lights on. And he started to talk about, and this, I swear, I was about to like get up and just start yelling like blasphemy, you know, like
Yeah.
I couldn't, because he goes on and he says this, he goes, you know, brothers and sisters, you know, you need to understand that when you get your paycheck on payday, that belongs to God. That paycheck belongs to God. And if you have it in your possession, it's because God gave it to you. So you need to take some of that and offer it. And don't come to my church with pennies. Like,
Wow.
and I'm sitting here like, what is this guy saying?
Man, was it a Mormon church that you were at? That sounds pretty.
It was what was it? I think it was an evangelist church, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
But yeah, I absolutely hated it. And then I went to this other church where the guy, the pastor would talk so negatively about anyone who was not a believer. Like very negatively, like talked about them like they were scum of the earth, man.
Right.
Like, that's not what it's about either. So you know, that's it's tough to like navigate your way, especially when you know that, you know, at the end of the day, we're all human. And
Yeah.
Right.
don't get me wrong. I'm sure that there's a church out there somewhere that is doing it right. But when I walk into a church and I see a man standing in front of his congregation and I see him talking, I see a man filling in the blanks in his check. You know what I mean? Like, that's all I see. And it's hard for me to see anything else now.
For sure.
You know?
There's oh, sorry, good.
No. I was just saying that's it. That's why. Yeah.
So I don't know how much you've listened to past podcasts. I grew up Mormon.
Oh, you did?
And,
Okay.
yeah, and there's this culture of like you have to make sure you pay your tithing or your offering, like 10% of your income, no questions asked, like at least 10% of your income. And so, but they've said stuff like, you know, if you can't, or if it's between feeding your kids and paying tithing, you need to pay tithing and stuff like that. And it's like, they have, like, they've gone to, like, you know, there's Mormon churches in, like, third world countries, and they're like, just so you know, like, the cycle of poverty will continue until you pay tithing. Like, because they felt like they weren't getting enough tithing out of those areas and stuff like that.
Oh, my God.
And, you know, that being said, some people, they can genuinely afford to give, like, if they want to give 10%, that's fine. But that idea of, like, your family should go hungry, like, instead of, like, it's more important that your family goes hungry than, you know, this church that has $120 billion getting your $5 in tithing.
Right. And there's even those testimonies that they talk about, right? Where like there's this old woman and she was in between spending her money on like this canned soup or giving it to the church, and she gave it to the church, and they talk about how amazing that
like
is.
how faith-filled that was. And I was like, she just missed some meals that she needed. Like, doesn't sound that great to me.
I feel like it's also a lot of churches in general. Like we had a guest previously also. I think he grew up Catholic, but I guess someone in his family died, and they missed a couple weeks of church, like 3 or 4 weeks, and the church ended up sending him a literal collection bill, like his family a collection bill of like how much he should owe to the church based on what he like would have paid in his offering.
Come on, man. Fuck.
It just seems like
I cannot tell you how much that irritates me, man.
for sure. I mean, it just seems like a lot of the stuff is focused at the wrong.
That's not what it is. That's not what it should ever be. Not a sit. Look, let me tell you something. I've, you know, as a, you know, given the opportunity that I was given to preach, I got to visit, you know, different churches, and not a single pastor should live in a mansion. Okay, let me just say that there's not a single, unless you're so popular that you need extra security because people are out to get you. You know, like I could see like someone. What's that guy's name? Joel Osteen. I think that's what his name is.
Yeah.
Like I could see you being so popular for you to have to live in a gated community and keep yourself and your family safe. You shouldn't own a private jet.
Doesn't he have multiple private jets? Or is it just one?
Like,
I don't know.
Private jets, mansions,
so
and cars. So that to me is wrong. Like I believe that if you are that successful and you are really that good a pastor and you have not, I feel like that money needs to manifest itself in some way. Like build a school, dude. You know, build a school, build a hospital. You know,
Right.
but when I see you have a private jet that you could have used to rebuild a playground in an inner city, and you spent it on a private plane. You know what I mean? Like that's the shit that gets me, and that's why I look at religion now and I'm like, this isn't it. You know, so I'm trying to get into like, you know, and when I say trying, I mean I've only really just read about it. I haven't tried anything in particular, but I'm more so leaning towards like really just spiritualism, you know, just like being okay with myself and coming to terms with the world that I live in and trying to be a kind, decent person.
Yeah.
You know, but it's weird. It's a weird mix because, you know, I was raised a certain way and then I learned a certain thing and then I preached a certain thing and now I'm just in a limbo. You know what I mean? I don't really know what it is. All I know is that, you know, just be kind, you know, just be a good person. That's it. You know?
If there's a God out there that doesn't value that, like, I don't know if I want to worship that.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Exactly. That's exactly what I'm saying. I think about I think about that all the time. I think, you know, what if someone is atheist, but they are an amazing person and they've done things genuinely from the heart? Does that mean they're condemned just because they're an atheist? I don't think that's what it means. I don't think that's what it means at all.
Right. They were horrible Christians, you know. Like, wasn't Hitler a Christian?
Exactly.
I have no idea.
Maybe I should say that. Man, we'll cut it out if it's not. Because I don't want to just claim Hitler's a Christian.
I've never heard that.
He was an artist. He was a failed.
He was an artist. I knew that.
Yeah. Yeah. Had he gotten into art school, things might have worked out a bit differently. But you know.
Right. But so one of my favorite quotes, I can't remember if I've already said this before, but I'm going to say it again, even so. But I've always loved this quote where someone once said, like, religion is a lot like the moon, people pointing to the moon. And these people that are pointing to the moon are more focused on their fingers rather than the moon, which I like a lot because it's almost like this thing is so far away, we don't really know what it is. We know that it's there. At least the way it's, the quote's described, we know that it's there, but we're focused on, you know, these little tiny different things that are telling you how to get there, you know, and I really like that.
Yeah.
So
that's a good way to look at it. Sorry, what?
So Hitler, apparently he was raised Catholic, and then he declared himself Christian. But it looks like he has a lot of anti-Christian quotes.
Oh, interesting.
So I'm not sure. It might require some more intense research. Like maybe he was claiming Christianity as like a way to gain power. I don't know.
Or maybe it was just a manipulation tactic.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's what I think. He claimed to be vegetarian like all the time, but there were like multiple counts of him eating meat. It was like really weird. So I don't know. He's like, oh, how could I hate people? I don't even eat animals. Or I don't know where he was going with that, but yeah.
Yeah, that took a weird turn.
Is there anything else you want to say?
I have a couple more quick questions. Two more.
Yeah, let's do it. Lightning round. Yeah, go for it.
Okay. So one, you know, there's probably a lot of people that, well, maybe not a lot. I don't know how many people are going to listen to these episodes. But, you know, there is a very real possibility that people hear your stories of like the dark times of your life and they might currently be in those times. And I know, like, I've definitely been at those points in the past where I'm like, man, like, I want to die, and people never knew, you know? And I guess, like, with your experience and, like, the depth of, like, the amount of life you've experienced so far, like, what would you say to people in those situations? That might be a hard question.
No.
Not exactly a lightning round. One word answer question.
No, no one has ever asked me that before. I mean, I've never been in a position to where someone would ask me that. But man, I don't know. I think about myself at that time, and I think about what I would have loved for someone to say to me. If I saw someone struggling that way, I think really the best thing I could say was to I think really what I would say is it's going to be okay. Just keep going. You know, just keep going. And I know that that's such a cliche thing to say, but you know, people like that just, you know, I lost the will to go on.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't care what happened to me. I wanted to just drink myself to death. You know what I mean? So, had someone just come up to me and said, "Hey, man, you know, it's hard now, but it'll get better. You know, it'll get better.
Yeah,
just keep going.
sure.
Don't give up. And whatever it is that you're going through, and whatever it is that will come, you know, that's just part of the ride, man. You know, that's just your story. You know." And maybe one day you get to tell it to someone who's going through something similar.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess that's
Mike at the Helm podcast, man.
Yeah.
Mike at the Helm podcast. That's right. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, thank you for that. Cause yeah, I agree. Like, I don't think there's much you can tell people in that situation other than, like, you know, things will get better. Like, you can get through this. You do have the strength to go on.
And it's so hard to believe, too.
Yeah, it is.
That's when you're at your darkest. And, you know, it is definitely something that's hard to come to grasp with.
Absolutely.
And then my last question. So I'm sure, like, that TikTok that you first made, it was in response to another TikTok that was like, what's a story that is not believable that you have, or something like that.
Right.
And I'm sure that there's been so many people that don't believe your stories. Or
you got the scars, you got everything.
I know, dude.
Yeah.
Or they are like, oh, you're making it up, or they might have an explanation like, oh, like some, you know, that some people, there's evidence that, like, when you die, there's DMT that's released in your brain.
Oh,
and you're like, oh, maybe it was like that.
That's the most popular one, the DMT thing. Yeah.
What would you say to people that maybe don't believe you, or like question the credibility or whatever?
Yeah, I love that question. Thank you for asking that question. So I have never been met with so much like pushback on something. I've had people, like, in my friend group, you know, when I tell stories, they're like, nah, that's bullshit. No way. No way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, we all have those moments, right? But on such a massive scale.
Right.
I mean, my first video alone, 9.9 million views. I don't know, it like 2 million likes, something like that. And then the comments, I think it's close to like 9,000 comments. It got to a point where I just stopped looking at them. You know, I stopped reading them because there were so many. And, you know, even though there were so many positive comments, the very few negative ones were the ones that really, really stung.
They hurt.
You know what I mean? They sting. Yeah. So to those people that don't believe my story, and to those people that have, you know, very valid arguments to you know, contradict my story, because I've been hit with some very valid. Have you ever thought that maybe this and this, and maybe your brain and yes, that's also a valid thing to say. Absolutely. To those people, I will say this. I will say, I understand your point, and I understand your point of view, and I understand why You may believe that to be the case. However, and this is coming from someone who's a natural skeptic myself. I'm very skeptical about things. However, I don't think anyone will ever really understand anything unless they live it themselves. That's really the best I can say. It's because I could tell you about, I could talk to you all day about football, and you might not like it at all. But if you put those shoulder pads and that helmet on and you run down that field and you score a touchdown, you might love it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
Hearing about it and talking about it is very different than actually experiencing it and living it and having those memories and those feelings, locked away. So it's I understand why they feel the way that they do, but at the same, in my defense, you will never know what it feels like because you've never lived through it. Just like I'll never know what it's like to give birth.
Yeah, right.
So it's in that, that would be my reply. That would be it.
Yeah, I mean, I totally understand what you're saying when you're talking about, like you don't know what people went through, you don't know what they were thinking at the time, and like I even understand that on levels like murder. Like I've seen a lot of murder documentaries with these people, and I don't know, the more I've seen those and the more I hear from these people, it's like, wow, these people really are not super different from me or my family or my friends. Like some of them can be, some of them can't be, but a lot of the time it's like, they even think themselves like, oh, I would have never murdered someone. Oh, I would have never think that I would be this low to rob somebody at gunpoint and, accidentally have it go off and things like that. Like
some people just snap.
Yeah.
Some people just snap, man.
For sure. And, a ton of murder is a crime of passion. A crime of, like a really common weapons, a hammer or just something that's around the house. It's
just like a blunt object over the head. Yeah.
Right. I mean, you just, I've never been able to be like, oh, like I would never do that if I was in their position. It's such a hard thing to argue, I think. You weren't there. Absolutely. You weren't doing any of that.
Exactly. I agree 100%.
I think that's good.
Yeah. Thank you so much for coming on today.
No problem.
It honestly, like I said before, like the word that comes to mind is it was an honor.
Oh yeah, it was fantastic. And if it seemed like we were a little quiet when you're telling the story, man, I just wanted to hear more.
Yeah.
Like, the whole time I was like really like on the edge of my seat pretty much, man.
Yeah, I was thinking I was like, they're bored. No. But it's just because I know it's such a long story.
It didn't feel long. No, I mean it was.
How long have we been? That's what she said. How long have we been?
It's almost 2.5 hours.
Yeah, probably 2.5 hours.
Wow, that's a long time.
But it's all been fantastic, man. Like we got to have you on again because there's so many other things I want to talk about too.
Oh, dude, and that, look, I know. Believe me, I got some. This is just the reason why I went viral and everything. But I got stories about like watching people get like, oh my god, dude, like living in third world Miami is. It's some crazy stuff, man. But yeah, no, definitely. If you guys want, let me know what kind of things you guys want to know about, and I definitely can let you know if I have stories about it. I have stories about running, literally like dodging bullets. Not because I'm particularly like I'm walking home from the store and next thing you know I get shot at for absolutely no reason.
Yeah, I saw some
things
of your
like
TikToks on that stuff.
Yeah, you've definitely lived a crazy life.
And anyone that's listening, if you want to see more of Elpy, hear more of his stories, he does tell a lot of stories on his TikTok. And what exactly is your TikTok handle?
You can find me as Elpy Perez, just by my name, Elpy Perez, ELPY, and then Perez, PEREZ. I'm the first one that pops up.
Okay.
Literally. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And this was fun, guys. I really appreciate this, honestly.
For sure, yeah, it's been a blast. And yeah, so if there's anything you think like, oh, I wish I didn't say that, we can definitely cut it out. So we'll edit it and we'll send you a version of it. If we could get like your email or something. And
no, just let it all fly, man. Let it all out there.
All right.
Yeah, man. Okay. I'm good. I'm good with it all. Yeah.
Sweet. Yeah,
I need it.
I just for sure.
I would hate for having done this and then just finding out that it got cut to bits and pieces.
No, yeah,
Like,
don't feel pressured
I mean?
at all, though. Don't feel like don't feel like you're putting us down if you think like you want to cut something out or anything like that. Like we totally can work with you.
No. I'm down. Just let it all fly, man. Let it all fly.
Is it cool if we get a picture really fast?
Yeah, sure, go for it.
Put it up on our.
Yeah, go ahead.
You're probably gonna have to do it further away. I feel.
Why?
Because only half of our faces are.
Well, that's normal.
We'll save that one and then take another picture.
Fine,
just
dude.
in case.
Oh my.
What about a sideways one? Oh, you got, there you go.
Oh, that's good. That's really good.
Look at that.
Are we good? Awesome.
Yeah. Beautiful. Yeah, thanks so much.
All right.
It was a little longer than you thought it was going to be.
Yeah, that definitely was a lot longer than I thought it would be.
Yeah, I think people are really going to love this story, man. I mean,
I hope so.
It's fantastic.
Let me know when it's done, and I'm going to make a video I'm going to make a TikTok about this podcast because there's still people that ask me about it now. Like people will still like message me like, hey, like, how did you, what was it like? Or like, what happened to your eye? A lot of questions that went unanswered. So I'm going to make a video when you guys are done with it. I'm going to just make a video like, hey guys, there's this podcast. If you want to know the whole story, blah, blah, blah. So
sure.
that'll be cool.
That'll be in about 2 weeks.
2.5 weeks.
That's fine. That's fine.
We'll
That's
definitely
fine.
message you and all that comes out. And we're definitely excited to hear it back.
Yeah.
Listen to it.
Awesome, dude. And it was great. And you guys hit me up. Whatever you guys want to talk about, just hit me up and we'll make it happen.
For sure, we definitely will. Yeah, thanks
Yeah.
for taking the time out of your day, man. Really appreciate it.
Yeah.
No problem. All right, I'm gonna let you guys go.
All right.
See you.
Have a good one,
All
man.
right, take care, guys. All right, bye-bye.
You too. Bye. Can we record the outro really fast?
Yes.
Just so it's on the same file.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Also, I kind of want to do a different intro to Elpy. I feel like it didn't work out well. But maybe I'll just listen back to it. Maybe I'm crazy.
Oh, like when we were introducing him?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was fine.
I mean, yeah. I don't know. I wish we went into detail more a little bit, but I don't know. And also, like, I was thinking of a skit where it's like the most interesting man in the world.
Oh, yeah, that'd be funny.
Elpy. And so maybe we'll just cut out that front part.
Okay.
And then we'll just like get right into it from the start. Like,
yeah, I thought the intro was kind of funny. You're like, oh, the TikToker. I thought that was pretty funny.
Okay, we might leave it in. Yeah, I still want to do the most interesting man.
Yeah,
in the world.
I love that idea.
The most interesting man.
Because literally, I'm like, dude, this guy's only 2 years older than me.
Oh my god, I know. Jesus.
I'm like, holy shit.
I can't believe he did any of that. Like, I think that's so crazy that he went through all that, man. That's nuts.
Ken, so should we record this really fast?
Yeah.
So we want to thank Elpy Perez again for coming on. Go ahead and check out his TikTok. Make sure you don't forget to go look at that. He's got some great TikToks, and he's super fun to watch. All of his stories are super engaging. As for us, you can find us on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram under the username Mike at the Helm. And if you want to share our podcast at all, that's tight. Also, if you want to subscribe to our podcast, you can find us at anchor.fm/Mike at the Helm. And yeah, I think that's it. Thanks for listening. Unless if you got anything, Mike.
No, that's it.
Okay. Love you guys. Bye.